Hi, everybody. It's me, Bobbie Yoshe. I'm sitting across from one of my friends. Do you know him?
They don't know me.
Yeah, of course not.
But my name's John Dutton. We are the co-hosts of the Fauxropter podcast. And today's an exciting day because it's not one word, 2 words, 3 words. It's an entire saying that we're doing for the first time.
Because guess what? It's our podcast, and we get to make it up as we go.
Exactly.
So we changed the rules, and today's going to be a phrase.
That phrase is, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And we'll be talking about that right after this music.
Head up.
So, Bobbie, it's ironic in a way that we're doing this because in the meantime, between thinking of doing this phrase and doing it, I've realized that when we recorded what ended up being our episode number 1, there was a problem with the microphone and the audio quality is okay, but it's not as good as the others. So we literally made a bad first impression if you were some sort of audio engineer, like that annoying guy in the Beatles documentary with the jackets.
Oh my god, he was the worst. That's such a good documentary, but if you haven't seen it, go back and just watch for that annoying guy. Also, as you may know by now, John does all of our sound engineering, and I'm very grateful for it.
Except I made a big mistake, so...
I can't really notice.
You
Other
know.
people won't notice. Also, it's the first podcast. People love it. And if they've listened to the other, I don't know where we are now, but those ones...
Yeah, they sound fine. And, you know, another phrase we could do is, you get what you pay for. And I am not paid. So anyway, Bobbie, the reason that I suggested this phrase was because it's the kind of thing you hear, one of those aphorisms, I believe, that people say and everybody goes, yeah. And then they don't, no, but they do it like, yeah, it's obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah.
You literally never get a second chance to make a first impression. How could you possibly argue with that? How could you think that's not true? But the point of our podcast is that we re-examine these things and see whether it's actually true all the time.
Or if it's phony baloney.
Exactly. Speaking of aphorisms.
Yep, that's the main one.
Or is that more of a sausagism?
We all know baloney's not real meat, but carry on.
Yeah, right. So why is it phony baloney? Why is it just baloney? Oh, it is baloney sometimes.
It's phony
Do they
baloney.
add phony after? Oof, there's some
They
research.
phone it in, actually.
There's some research to be done here. So that's for another day. Today, I'm just curious to know what you think about that phrase and not so much the phrase, but the idea behind it. Because to be honest with you, the phrase is the phrase. It's
It is
logical.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally logical.
Well, it's annoyingly logical.
Right.
Like, it's a dumb phrase.
But that's the power of those things, and that's why we talk about them, because it's the kind of thing that people say without a second thought.
Yeah, you shrug, you're like, yeah, you're right. You do only get one chance to make a first impression. But I think a first impression's not as important as we make it out to be. I think your second and third impression can be just as important.
Exactly. I'm of that mind as well. And I think there's a sort of bigger picture here, which is that if you put too much emphasis on a first impression, you're basically doing a disservice either to yourself or the people you're trying to make an impression on, because you put a lot of pressure to make the impression.
On a very small moment, too.
Yeah.
Because also, like, the constraint of what a first impression entails, like, is it your first sentence? Is it your first conversation? Is it the first day you've interacted with somebody? The first impression varies between every person. So why would you worry about your first impression if it's such a ridiculously non-tangible thing?
Yeah, you could have had a bad hair day or something.
I don't.
I
My
know
hair
you.
looks
I didn't
good all the
mean-
time.
I didn't mean you.
Okay.
I meant me. You could then you feel really bad because you made this bad impression. You just really do put tons of pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
And clearly it's important to try to make a nice entrance or to, set off on your best foot, to use other...
Put your best foot forward.
That's what I meant. To use another phrase that I got wrong.
But another phrase that also means nothing.
Yeah.
Like, both kind of equate to you should just try your best.
And the reality is, although that sounds great, and yeah, try your best and everything, in reality, and this is true of people, it's true of corporations as well, a lot of the time things start off a bit rocky and then that's not always such a bad thing because there's a sort of authenticity to that, right?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm a big believer in hard work. And I don't think you can give a first impression that you're a hard worker.
That's a good point. And the other thing is it opens the door to a lot of judginess at the beginning, right? Because you're saying that the other person should automatically put a whole lot of, belief in this first impression. When, as you say, whether it be hard work or other things, having a not so bad hair day the next day, for example, that counts. That should count just as much because not only are you the same person, you might actually be a better person the next day.
But you will be.
Right, exactly. And that's what I don't really like because that comes to the issue of rehabilitation. Like if we're going to take this to a big extreme, right? The first impression some people make who get off on the wrong foot, as you mentioned, in life, make some very, poor decisions when they're young. It doesn't mean, and this isn't a debate about prison sentencing, but it's a debate about rehabilitation versus punishment. It doesn't mean that you spend the rest of your life being the exact same person.
Well, I think that goes for any mistake, not even a prison mistake. You always have time to correct it. And I think with that mindset, it's much easier to live as a human being who makes mistakes just non-stop. If you only get one shot, you're going to mess it up. But if you get one shot twice, it'll be great.
Or more than twice. However, I would say that if you've murdered somebody, you don't really get a chance to correct it. But you get a chance to...
Have you seen the film Flatliners? Because they do.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah, that was some time ago.
They redid it, just so you know.
They've redone it?
Yeah, it's terrible. No Kevin Bacon, so forget it.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's a good point, because even they got to redo their original movie, which was subpar at best. But if you get to redo a very terrible 80s movie, then I think I should get a second first impression.
Yes, exactly. So I guess the point that we're trying to get at here is people don't put too much pressure on yourself right off the bat, because anybody who judges you immediately on that first impression is perhaps somebody that you don't want to impress ultimately.
Yeah, as Shania Twain once said, that don't impress me much.
You're very good with these kind of quotes.
Thank you. I am full of them.
I can't believe that Eminem didn't come into this conversation yet.
Oh, I did bring it up.
Well,
it was at the very beginning.
Oh, did I miss that?
I think so.
That you said the word Eminem? Or is that three words?
No. I quoted the song immediately.
Right. Exactly. You quoted it, but I thought you were going to make sure that I knew what you were talking about. Oh, no. Actually, my entire dialogue at all times is just quotes, but people think it's me speaking. Oh, you channel. You're a channeler. Perhaps we should do channeling one day. All right. So, are you happy with this? Have you covered it? I feel like I talked a lot in this one. Well, I feel like we should get back on track talking about Eminem. Okay. So we're talking about a young man from 8 Mile, Detroit. And his entire focus is that he only has one chance, one opportunity. If that was the case, there wouldn't be a 2-hour film about the one chance he had. It would be about 3 minutes, and everybody would be like, yeah, he made it, great. So even Eminem, at the end of the day, had one shot twice. And even because the point is, I guess, that he did do it right, but that's not all that matters. No. What really mattered was he did it right, even with vomit on his sweater, it was mom's spaghetti. Okay, good. Well, on that note, I'm going to have to rewatch that film and see if I've changed my opinion about the phrase, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. All right. Thank you for listening. Thanks for joining us. And if you have any comments or suggestions, you can email us, fauxropter@gmail.com, and we'll be back very soon with another episode. Another riveting word, maybe phrase, maybe even just 3 words. Yeah, who knows? Maybe one day we'll read out an entire novel. That'll be the words of the day. Thanks, Bobbie. Thanks, John. All right. See you soon, guys. Bye.